Okay, you guys know what time it is. I'm going to give my impressions of this Artur Beterbiev-Dimitrov Undercard. Yeah, it was announced a couple of nights ago. I'm sure you guys have seen the poster that's been circulating. There is actually a different running order on BoxRec. So the poster has one running order and BoxRec has another. I'm more inclined to believe that the poster, because it is an official Riyadh season poster, is the more accurate running order. Although what I will say is if you have a look at the running order on BoxRec, I think in practicality, this would probably be a bit better on the night. Just the ordering of the fights, I think, is, a bit more logical, a bit more entertaining as well. It carried the momentum a bit better, but nevertheless, as I say, I suspect the poster is more accurate. And before I get into my assessment, my impression of this card, I just want to say to the stroppy half-wits who are inevitably going to be in the comment section of this video that this is just my opinion. It's just my assessment. Because there are also some people who, when I do these kind of reaction videos, they get upset. They say that I'm wrong, like my opinion is wrong, if that even makes sense. And that I'm insinuating I'm not a proper boxing fan because I'm so picky or I don't like a card or whatever. It's just my opinion. It's just my assessment based on, one, what I see in front of me, and two, what I look for in a good card. And so, to these stroppy half-wits who are going to get their knickers up, all up in a twist, if you're looking forward to this card and you were jumping up and down with joy when it was announced, good for you. I'm really happy for you. But as a paying customer, because that's what I am, I pay for pay-per-views. I don't illegally stream them or anything, whereas a lot of you guys do, I know that. I feel I have a right, as a paying customer, to judge what I'm potentially going to be parting ways with my money for. And so, here it is. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But nevertheless, let's talk about this card. Starting from the bottom up, and as I say, I'm using the poster as a reference. We have Mohamed Alakel versus Jesus Gonzalez. Now, this is an obvious prospect versus sacrificial lamb, or not even prospect, debutant. Debutant being Mohamed Alakel, as I imagine, although I've Googled his name and I can't see anything about it, can't find a single thing. So I suspect that he's probably a friend or a family member of an organizer of this event, and they're doing him a favor. They've probably asked him, "Oh, you're interested in boxing? Fancy turning pro?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sign me up." And they've managed to get him some poor sod, and Jesus Gonzalez most likely going to be some kind of sacrificial lamb for this debutant who knows how good he is, because there's nothing of him out there, not that I can find anyway. Forgive my ignorance. If you know anything about this kid, then please enlighten me. Sky Nicholson versus Raven Chapman. I'm aware of both of these ladies. Can't say I particularly care about them fighting though. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that one. Ben Whitaker versus Liam Cameron. I like Ben Whitaker. Find him entertaining. I like the showboating. I like that whole Ben Whitaker roadshow. I know a lot of people don't like the showboating. Plenty of people do, but there's still a sizable contingent of boxing fans who don't. And they say stuff like, "Oh, he's only fighting, low-level opposition. Why is he showboating?" Almost like insinuating that, "Oh, he hasn't done enough to be so cocky and to showboat so much." But then these same people usually love Muhammad Ali and Prince Nassim. And it's like, if you look back at those guys' careers retrospectively, you can see that they didn't wait for boxing fans' approval before they started showboating. It was just part of their approach. It was part of who they were and how they fought. And I suspect it's the same with Ben Whitaker. And like, the bottom line is he's entertaining, so why the hell not? I suspect that this is a little bit of a showcase. He's going up against Liam Cameron, who I don't believe I've seen him. I don't remember seeing him. But he's a domestic level fighter, as you'd expect at this stage for Ben Whitaker. He's looking at his record on BoxRec. He actually turned pro at middleweight, I believe. That was a long time ago. So, you can grow into weights. That's not unrealistic at all. The only thing is, he's been beaten a fair few times, at middleweight by Eric Ochieng, which is interesting because Eric Ochieng, you guys might not know, he's a London-based kind of area level fighter, and he was actually a stablemate of my coach way back when I was a teenager. So yeah, small world, but nevertheless, Liam Cameron, he's been beaten a fair few times at area level. Some recognisable names on his record like Luke Blackledge and Lyndon Arthur most recently. And so, yeah, Liam Cameron, 23-6. 10 of his wins have come by knockout. None of his losses have been by knockout. So he's probably a tough guy. He could go rounds. I suspect that's why he's been brought in, because he's likely going to make it a longer fight and probably give Ben Whitaker more time to showboat and dazzle the crowd. So, yeah, I don't hate it, but it's a little bit of a nothing fight. Hopefully Ben Whitaker can just showboat a bit more extravagantly than usual and make it entertaining that way. And maybe get a stoppage. That would always be a plus too. Next up the list, we have Jai Opetaia versus Jack Massie. Similar kind of thing with Jai Opetaia. I really like him. I think he is the real deal. I suspect he's the best at cruiserweight, although he does have to prove it. He has to go out and deliver the goods. However, I think we're probably starting to see that his cruiserweight rivals, aren't too keen on fighting him. And so he's having to settle for lower tier opposition. Although he did just come off a win against Maris Bradis, which I know since that fight, I was actually talking to G-Man about this because we met up a couple of days ago, obviously talking about boxing. I think a lot of people, after that Bradis fight, or the Bradis rematch, Opetaia's kind of gone down in their estimations. I don't see why, because yeah, it wasn't a great performance, but look at who he's up against. Maris Bradis is a fantastic fighter and a great cruiserweight. Gave Alexander Usyk one of the hardest, probably, could you say the hardest fight in his career? I think that would be fair. And so Bradis is the real deal, and he's a tough old bastard. And he's a good fighter too, don't get me wrong. He's not like just some tough guy. He's a good boxer, very good puncher, and he's an elite level operator. So the fact that Opetaia didn't look great against him, or didn't look $1 million, he still beat him. And I think Bradis is just one of those guys. Well, if he turns up and he's in shape as he usually is, he's going to put in a decent shift. Jack Massie, I can't grumble at this fight too much, mainly because, it doesn't seem like other guys are really too keen to fight Opetaia. Massie's stepping up to the plate, doing what the others should be doing. And he's coming off a decent win against Isaac Chamberlain, but also he went the distance with Joseph Parker, which still is a strange result. But yeah, I guess it would be a bit of a yardstick for Opetaia. I suspect he will deal with Jack Massie. It's just going to be how. That's going to be the question. Is he able to blast him out early? Because that would really say a lot. I'm not sure do I see Opetaia doing that? I'm going to have to look at this fight a bit more closely. I definitely see Opetaia winning. But yeah. Does he get rid of Massie early? I'm not sure. But an acceptable fight. I can't say I'm excited for it, but at the same time I don't hate it, because I feel like I understand why this fight is on the card. So I don't know, maybe you guys think I'm being a bit too lenient. Let me know. Next up, we have Fabio Wardley versus Fraser Clark. An immediate rematch. You guys know I'm not always the biggest fan of immediate rematches, although there are certain circumstances where I do accept them and sometimes actually want to watch them. And this fits the bill for me, because the first fight was really good. Plus it ended in a draw, and I think it was a legitimate draw. And so, yeah, why the hell not? I don't know how entertaining this fight's going to be, because sometimes the first fights can be entertaining, and then rematches can be, a little less. Not always. Sometimes it's even better or just as good, but I'm not entirely sure yet how I think this fight is going to unfold. But the first fight, that was enough for me to want to see a rematch. So yeah, bring it on. I like this fight. I think it's probably the strongest fight on the undercard, and I think most people would agree with that. Right, these next two fights, this is where it starts to get a little bit strange, because the next one up, we have Chris Eubank Jr. versus Kamil Szeremeta. Yeah, since when? Like, what on earth is Chris Eubank Jr. doing on this card? I was actually going to do a video in the last couple of weeks on Chris Eubank Jr. just because it's... Where is this guy's career going? What is he doing? By the time this fight rolls around on the 12th of October, he would have been out the ring for over a year by that point, a year and a few weeks. And this guy just has no... there's no semblance of momentum in his career right now. And I think it's been like that really since he lost to George Groves in February 2018. It's just been these kind of stopgap fights. Oh, it looks like he's making a change and he's going to get rolling. He's going to get some good form and maybe fight someone good. But it's so choppy. It's stop, start, stop, start. And yeah, it's just, guy's career's not going anywhere. And Chris Eubank Jr. has ability, has some degree of talent, but he's if he was to retire today or retire after this Szeremeta fight, you'd really have to look back at his career and shake your head. Yeah, he's made a hell of a lot of money and good for him, but he was already rich growing up, so he's just made a bit more money. I don't know, like he's always talking about belts and fighting this guy, fighting that guy, but it really is just all talk, I think, with this guy. Because especially when you see a lot of Chris Eubank Jr.'s biggest fights, he's frozen and he hasn't delivered. So that being said, some of you guys might remember my reaction to him beating Liam Smith. I didn't actually do a video, but I spoke about it in a live stream, and I think I did a post on my community tab. I was very impressed because that was one of the instances where Chris Eubank Jr. really showed he showed out and he delivered the goods to good, because he went in the ring against a guy who had knocked him out badly. You know, that's it. Go back in, beat him up, and that was something that I picked Chris Eubank Jr. to win that rematch, but I didn't know if he'd be that dominant in doing so. But I don't know, it just looked like that knockout defeat was just water off a duck's back, so that was impressive. And there is a degree of excitement with Chris Eubank Jr., but Szeremeta, he should be dealing with him pretty handily, because Szeremeta's, he's sturdy, but he's basic. I say sturdy, he has been stopped twice, although that was against Gennady Golovkin and Jaime Munguia, two guys who, if you get stopped by them, I don't think it's a damning indictment, but it certainly shows his level. He is definitely leagues below the top guys at middleweight. So, yeah, this will probably be a showcase for Chris Eubank Jr. Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina. I did a video the other day about Shakur Stevenson and some silly things that he said and how I disagree with them. Yeah, I can't say I'm particularly enthused to see this guy fight because he's just boring. Don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter, he's an elite fighter, but outside of him fighting Lomachenko and Tank Davis, I really don't care. Joe Cordina is same thing. He's not a fighter I'm always clamouring to watch, although his last fight against Kakachi was a decent watch, but I think that was more so because of the approach that Kakachi brought to that fight. Before that, there was the Rakhimov fight that Cordina had. Same thing, I think that fight was made exciting because of Rakhimov. And then he did get that knockout over the Japanese guys, his name Ogawa. Always have to remind myself. So, like, Cordina, he's had some entertaining performances, but I think most of the time it depends on the opponent he has in front of him. And I don't think Shakur Stevenson is going to bring that excitement. And so, and another thing, why is Cordina getting a title shot when he lost his last fight? That is one thing that many people have an issue with, and I certainly understand why, because losing a fight, particularly when you've lost decisively, as he did to Anto Kakachi, should send you down in the rankings. yeah, coming off a stoppage loss and going straight into a title fight. Now, this is nothing against Joe Cordina, because I feel exactly the same about Josh Warrington getting a title shot against Kakachi. Yeah, I don't like that either. So that's just my opinion. It's not something I like to see, but here we are. But yeah, for the most part, Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina. Maybe the stars align and it's a pleasant surprise, but I'm not going to be holding my breath. And then we have the top of the bill, Beterbiev versus Bivol. This one speaks for itself. You know, you've got the two best guys at light heavyweight, and they are brilliant. This isn't like, oh, we're unsure about how good both guys are. No, these guys are both extremely good at what they do. And this is one of those fights where I genuinely can't split them. I'm going to have to do so much homework just to come to a speculative decision on who I'm going with. But the only thing I want to say is, just my opinion, I feel like this fight, the main event, has lost a little bit of its intrigue, just a touch, where Beterbiev got injured. Because it does, you know, that was a pretty severe injury and that can compromise a fighter. You know, any other sport that could be career ending. Boxing's no different. So, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm still excited to see it, but you know, there's still, a month and a half left. And so I'm just, actually, no, like 7, 8 weeks, something like that. Hopefully the fight goes ahead. But yeah, I still think it's an amazing fight, but there's a little bit of uncertainty regarding, are we going to get the best? Beterbiev especially. But yeah, nevertheless, that is my reaction to this card. Took a little bit longer than I thought, but hey, I like to go somewhat in depth. But yeah, leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you make of this card? Are you looking forward to it? Do you think it's a bit of a dud? Or do you, like me, kind of see it as it's okay, great main event, one really good undercard fight, and then the rest is maybe it's a little bit of filler. But yeah, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll get back to you. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.